that we could do. You could be in Pulse, you could be delegating and generating yield. Then you could take some of that yield, collateralize it, then use a privacy protocol that would help you obfuscate it in several ways, send it to another protocol that would again help with privacy and give you access to the Bitcoin Lightning Network and allow you to then use point of sale through all the infrastructure that Bitcoin has. And you could do all that without touching a single legacy structure. And again, I'm not even saying that's a good idea. All I'm getting at is like that's the level and the capability of the tools we have now that very few people are using. I'm not even saying that you need to use those. I'm just getting, again, like just speaking to the group and sort of the idea. There's a lot of tools that we are not utilizing yet.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think we've gone through a lot of different phases in crypto, right? Of course, started with Bitcoin. And then of course we've got HEX, so we've got ways that you can store some value and earn yield. So there's quite a bit of different types of yield plays out there. There's a big boom of like people trying different DAOs and different methods to do it. A lot of them failed. Most of them fail. But now it's like, oh, we tried that. We kind of figured out what works and what didn't. You saw different swapping platforms, different staking options, so that community members could supply tokens to different staking stuff like liquidity pools on Uniswap, and stuff in like places like Aave, so people can lend and do all sorts of things. But what we really haven't gone down the rabbit hole yet, I think the next focus in crypto is going to be, okay, now that we got a lot of this nonsense figured out. I mean, they even went down the NFT route and the meme route. So like all that's been trialed and errored and kind of figured out what works and what doesn't. But now how do we use this stuff? Like, how do we actually use this crypto thing as financial products for purchasing goods and services? Like that's got to be the next iteration of this.
Yeah, I mean, like when I listen to guys like Crypto Goose and these guys talk about getting off the fiat system, for me, the thing that I need that seems like it's hard to get right now is just a debit card where I use my crypto. Um, is Are there good companies that you could trust that's out there right now where you could just use your crypto for purchases with a debit card, or where we at on that?
Well, it's kind of an illusion to have a crypto backed debit card. Just the way that like MasterCard and Visa and these banks operate, like these credit cards, debit cards will always be backed by fiat. That's just how that's literally how it has to work. When you're talking a credit card, you're talking about a legacy system, and there's no way to swipe a card and have it spend your Bitcoin without there first being a sell of that Bitcoin for fiat, and the fiat being the thing that's backing that debit card. So, yes, there's ways that you can easily spend your crypto, but like we can never get away from fiat completely. If we're going to use things like debit cards, Coinbase has a debit card option. Crypto.com has a debit card option. I think Voyager now has a debit card option. And there's new ones that pop up. But essentially, you're just sending your crypto to those platforms, and you're selling your crypto for fiat, and that's what's backing your cards.
Gotcha.
I think that's part of the reason that again I brought up a few times, again, not the coin but the protocol. There's some third party stuff that's again working on Bitcoin and Pulse connection is, while there's a lot of compromises to be made with some of the stuff that Jesse brought up with like debit cards and Bitcoin itself. But in some case, I think we can be pragmatic and say, and sort of to the rest of the world, the no coiners, like, look, I know you guys have not figured this out. If you can figure out Bitcoin, we'll figure out how to pay you in Bitcoin. So I think in some ways, as an intermediary, before we get to some of these really, really cool things that I'm sure we'll see in 5, 10, 15 years, I think that we can do things to make it easier on the rest of the world to do business with us. And I think in some ways we can use Bitcoin for some of that, especially as the Lightning Network continues to develop. And again, I'm not saying it's perfect or to, sell all our stuff into Bitcoin. I'm saying that we can piggyback off of that infrastructure and solve some of these problems in some ways right now. Even if it's different kinds of OTC desk, there's different even nation state actors that will accept Bitcoin in some capacities, right? So again, I think we can one of my favorite things that RH ever said is that you can be technically right and price wrong. And I don't even necessarily always take it as he means technicals versus price. I just mean that in some ways you can be pragmatic and you can win or you can be right. You know what I mean? And I think in a lot of ways right now we can win by in some cases playing the same game. Again, use things that are being adopted now. Use some of the rules that are applied and make it easy on people to do business with us. Jess, mute your mic. Act like you've done this before.
Okay. There are, man, this isn't, I guess we can call this third party or not. I have no idea. Right. There are tools out there to spend crypto. For people who would like to spend crypto, there's like something called shopping.io. You can literally shop at thousands and thousands of stores. You can even shop at Walmart, and you can spend your crypto to do it. When you get to the checkout page, you literally select which crypto you want to use. Again, on the backside of things like this, what you're actually doing is giving your crypto to an organization who is then spending their fiat to buy your good and drop shipping it. It ends up getting shipped to you just like normal. From your user experience, it just feels like you're sending your crypto to Walmart, for your groceries. But that's not what's actually happening on the backside of things.
Hey Jesse, with that you're talking about, don't they connect it with your Coinbase account? I think I remember I looked at that before a while ago, and it asks you something about your Coinbase account and it links to it. So you're basically buying it through your Coinbase. So you're like KYC'd. So you're not really, under the radar.
Well, is the goal to stay under the radar? Like
I guess
whoever
I guess I just want to get to the point where you spend it without going into fiat. But like if you go through Coinbase, they kind of like see your transaction already. So I don't know. It seems like they're just selling your crypto into fiat.
I don't think they connect to Coinbase.
I'll double check it again. I remember I looked at through it twice.
I'm actually looking now. All right. No. In fact, when you use a tool like that, like shopping.io, you literally connect your MetaMask wallet.
Oh, okay.
And
It's not
then
better.
you go to whatever store you want to shop at. Walmart or wherever. You can go to shoe stores, you can go to all sorts of places. And then when you get to the checkout page, you're literally spending it straight out of your MetaMask wallet. So that's completely DeFi on your end, but you just have to understand what you're actually doing is like your crypto is going to this organization.
Yeah. So
Like
the only
it's not-
way they can link it back to you is just your shipping address, right? So they know what you bought. They know your name and everything. But I mean, if that matters.
Yeah, I suppose you could look at it that way. You do. I mean, you have an account that's set up there.
Yeah.
Like they know what your name is. But they don't know what your capital gains versus losses or anything like that are. I don't think they generate any sort of like paperwork for you.
Yeah.
I think on the topic to kind of chiming in on T's point, I think that in some, and I've brought this up several times, and usually, I mean, this is a little calmer community, but in general, I think in general, we do ourselves a disservice by overstating what crypto does. So in general, if we kind of go up and then we say, oh, it's censorship resistant, you can do this and you can use privacy and this and this, and we sort of give this golden example, and then you sit down and actually go, well, like, okay, well, yeah, here I can spend money, but like to T's point, is it connected with a shipping address or is there an account? And so in a lot of ways, I think we need to really talk about crypto in that here's what it can do, and then in another bucket, here's what we want it to do, and keep striving to build things so that it'll do what we want it to do. But I think we always need to be extremely honest about what it can do, and go through and work through some of these solutions, and again, figure out ways to make it easier for other people to let us do what we want to do while we keep getting better solutions. And I think we really need to work at that problem from both ends.
Yeah, because I figured as soon as they ship it to your house, they know where you live, and now they know your MetaMask address and now your docs, so they know what everything you have inside your MetaMask, unless you use a coin mixer.
Does it really matter though? Like who cares?
Yeah, pretty much.
Do you really think somebody's gonna come to your house and say, "We saw what was in your MetaMask, and we ran all these numbers, and we did all this math without ever sending you a letter, without ever like." We saw that you ordered a pair of shoes on Amazon and you used your MetaMask to do it. Why didn't you report your capital gains that you made prior to making that purchase of those shoes on Amazon? Like, I just don't. We're not there yet.
No, not even. Because like, what if all that data gets leaked? That's what a lot of people are afraid of too.
Well, it takes 5 seconds to send your assets through a mixer and have it in a new wallet so you can hide yourself again if you're really worried about that.
Yeah.
And another, just again, an insight on this topic is that most of the time when people say security or privacy, I really think they underestimate what it takes. And so this isn't directly the guys in the conversation. It's more just, again, looking at these things in a wholeness. You know, you'll see some people sit here and perpetuate to do XYZ thing and a mixer and this and that. And it's like, man, you're walking around with a phone attached to Facebook, Google, and a dozen other data collection services and active cameras. And it's like, okay, so really what were you trying to achieve here? So again, that's why I always push into like pragmatic solutions. And if you want to go full, you know, Nighthawk and be using graphene OS phones and really sort of trying to keep away that privacy, I 100% commend you. Most of us are not willing to make those sacrifices. So you want to make sure that, again, I think that privacy is woefully stepped on, that it is a human right. So don't hear what I'm not saying, that I think those things aren't important. I think that most people are not willing to make those concessions in a lot of the modern cultures. And so use these things pragmatically to really kind of achieve an end, and don't lean on sort of a philosophical view of privacy or this or that, or unless you're really willing to pay the cost and dive into what it takes to do those things in a practical way.
Yeah, and I know what you mean, because right now, even like the credit card system, it gets hacked all the time, and people spy all the stuff, and all the employees in the credit card company, they see exactly what you buy all the time, so that's not really privacy either.
Right, and I'm not saying that that's a good thing. I'm just saying that that's what it is, right?
Yeah.
You know, so let's use these things pragmatically. Let's not say that crypto is a solution to privacy everywhere. It's like, no, it's a very specific tool that can be used constructively. The same as VPNs, as using cash, as having multiple, like, you know what I mean? Like, if you get to look into these things in sort of a, you know, an OPSEC view, you just can't do one thing and then lean on it, right? Like, if you really want to take these things into totality and sort of give up certain concessions to make sure that you have privacy. And again, I don't think you should have to do those things. It's just what it is, right? And that's where I think that we should be careful about overstating what crypto does. And also, if those things are important to you, to lean into them and make them useful in more ways, right? So if you want crypto to be adopted, well, cool, then like let's use some of these things in the middle that aren't necessarily perfect solutions, but they're viable solutions. And we push those, educate people on viable solutions while we keep building toward perfect solutions.
Yeah, I agree.
You know how you hide purchases? You use cash, right?
Yep.
And even
Yep.
even using cash, it's like, okay, you can go on Facebook Marketplace and there's a trace there. Like, there's a history of you communicating with somebody else who's got something they want to sell, and you reaching a deal, and at least the government or Facebook or whoever knows that it appears that you went to go purchase that thing that's now sitting in your driveway. It's very easy for them to get a hold of that person and say, hey, how much did he pay you? Right? So, I mean, unless you're using flea markets or like swap meets and stuff, like, everything's tracked. No matter what you do, at some point, you're going to spend some money. And I doubt any government cares about you spending crypto to buy a pair of shoes. But if you didn't used to have a $5 million house, and all of a sudden you have a $5 million house and a yacht and this and that, and your taxes show that, you know, you're making $50K a year, it's probably likely at some point somebody's going to wonder what you're doing to make all your money. Like, you can't hide like giant sums of money. And that's not what crypto is designed to do. It's one thing staying anonymous, peer to peer, or inside of protocols and stuff. But the intent wasn't ever to hide from, like, paying your taxes.
Don't you guys reckon the cash will be exiled? There will be no more cash in like 5 to 10 years.
Well, they
I
keep
think that
printing
it's
it.
Go ahead, Jess.
I mean, they keep printing it. I mean, you can still get your hands on it. I mean, every year there's new bills that come out that have the current year, printed right on it. Are they going to stop doing that? I don't
If
think
you
so.
There's places like the Netherlands where they have sorry to step over you there, Puzzle. The places like the Netherlands have already done a good job about moving pretty quickly toward cash-free societies. I think in general, sort of if we kind of like dig deeper than sort of the particular issue, what it comes down to is just government intervention in general life. And from what I've seen, and again, everyone is more than willing to make their own decision or just disagree with where I've landed on it. But considering that I don't have a lot of the traditional connections to where I'm from, which is the Western world, it is much easier to change those things with your feet than it is to change them with a protocol or a behavior. There's a lot of really beautiful places in the world that have a lot of great things that are probably better than wherever you're from, especially if you're somebody who's in here in the middle of their day listening to cats like me, Jesse, and the rest of the smart people in this room talk about things. Just as a quick general thing, probably your parents suck. I'm sure they're great people. I'm sure they're lovely. All I'm getting at is they probably suck. Where you're from probably sucks. The people around you probably suck. If you're someone who's open-minded enough to be in crypto, trying to be challenged the status quo and doing cool things, then chances are where you are, where you're from, and most of the people around you suck. And if you're really good at stuff, there's likely places in the world that would appreciate you better. Just it's not aimed at anyone. It's not meant to degrade where anyone's from or anything. I'm saying this is just a sort of empirical fact. If you're an exceptional person, there are exceptional places in the world that will be much better suited to who you are.
I'd agree with that. Just closing out the question from a second ago. I don't think cash is going anywhere. Like the US dollar is used all over the world, and it's used in its physical form all over the world. It's used in
but
it's used in
sorry, I stepped over. Go on. Sorry, double.
I mean, it's used in the Middle East. It's used in Africa, places that don't have established banking systems of their own, or credit card processing machines and stuff, or working internet. Like USD, the US dollar is very, very prevalent in a cash paper form all over the world. You can't just stop using it. I mean, you can kind of get away from it out of convenience in America, perhaps, but like it's always going to exist.
But this is what do you think? Well, on some African countries, I don't know which one. I don't want to make a short, but they're using a cell phone credit to make payments because they printed money is worthless. And another
Zimbabwe.
thing, yeah, it was Zimbabwe. That was crazy. I've seen this like a couple of weeks ago, but today I live in London, right? And today I went to a couple of shops and I want to buy a coffee. I had cash. My phone died and they didn't accept it. And I was like, really? Jesus Christ. It's London, man. Central London. WC1. It's unbelievable. And another point what I want to make is this is one of the things that the government cannot really control is cash. Don't you agree on that?
I suppose to some degree. But is it the government controlling it or that shop just being, out of convenience because they don't want to have to go to do bank runs? They don't want to have to bring, cash deposits to their local banks. So, from their experience, most people are using cards. So they just said, you know what? We just don't want to accept cash anymore. It's not worth it to us. I don't think that's the government forcing their hand. That's just the locals saying they don't want to use it.
Well, it's happened to me at Nero Cafe. Is like one of the biggest brands here, one of the three. It happened to me in Costa as well. It's the biggest brand in coffee. It's got like coffee shops, and a normal corner shop. Like corner shop always take cash, and they refuse.
Well,
So that was really
in
shocking.
America, if you use peer-to-peer marketplaces like Facebook Marketplace, nobody's going to accept a debit card or credit card. It's all going to be cash. If you go to a dispensary, and I mean, if you are at all a buyer in the marijuana industry in America, you're going to use cash.
Cash and crypto.
Cash and crypto. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I maybe gave enough context to some of the things I was saying about like parents and where you're from. The point of that was just the idea that if you're trying to achieve certain things, I think sometimes again that we use crypto as this like catch-all thing, like that crypto will solve some of these problems, and it absolutely will, and it's very viable, and it gives a lot of people a lot of resources that allow them to make other changes. I mean, again, if everyone's heard me talk, they know I love crypto. What I'm getting at is that it is still a tool. It's not this Swiss Army knife of solutions for everything. And that I think if you use crypto correctly, along with being knowledgeable on the rest of financial systems, about not necessarily just staying put, that if you use crypto along with being knowledgeable about the rest of the world, that you can really utilize it to live a better life in whatever context that means to you.
I agree to that.
Some people don't like to pay taxes. Nobody likes to pay taxes. Very few people, but I've considered, do I want to move out of America? I've looked at a few places. The Cayman Islands is one of them. But then you got to look, okay, what's there to do there? Okay, you're stuck on a relatively small island. How many restaurants are going to be in the local area? What's the real estate like? What's the schools like?
Hold on now. One sec. I don't mean to interrupt you, but have you actually visited these locations? I mean, physically, and spent some time there, though? Well, really asking seriously.
I have to Puerto Rico.
Okay. Puerto Rico being a little bit different scenario. There's
Right.
lots. I mean, I if I didn't have family and my daughter here, man, I'll tell you, there's lots of nice places to live where your money goes real far and that you get to keep, your money. There's nothing wrong with paying taxes. I got no problem with paying taxes. It's just so absorbent about, taxes here. You're taxed out the wazoo. And that would be fine if we got a lot of benefit from it. But, I'm paying, X amount for insurance and that's crappy insurance, not even good insurance, and it costs me all this amount of money for crappy insurance. It's ridiculous. I was
But
just
do
saying,
you,
some of these places would be pretty nice to live at if you were unattached to, some of these things. That's why a lot of these guys who are wealthy live there.
Right, of course.
Let's live over 6 months. 6 months in a day past. You don't have to live there all year.
But then other people are willing to pay, 15, percent more to live, in a place that has a lot more things to do, that has thousands of restaurants to pick from and thousands of stores and millions of, literally unlimited things to do. Right. So you
but
could, just an example, I'm not saying any of these islands are horrible, but I mean, you could go live on a small island somewhere and maybe not have a whole lot of things that you can do other than ride your golf cart around and look at the ocean. Or you could live in a place like, a nice house, a little ways away from Miami. You still have seclusion, but you have literally unlimited things you can do. And the price that you're going to pay is the taxes, but you're paying a premium for having unlimited choices.
What's the median price for a house, say, an hour from, Miami? What's the average price for a home?
Well, on the water, you're gonna pay anywhere between 5 and 40 mil for a house on the water.
We're not talking about a house on the water. Those are for the elite. Usually, people don't. Most people don't have that kind of money to have a house on the water.
I mean, if you're not on the water, you can pay 400K to $1 million, I guess. But then if you go to a place like the Cayman Islands and you want to live on the water, you're also going to pay, 10 mil. But you're not going to have all the choices of being able to drive wherever the heck you want and have unlimited things to do.
Well, I will say this: the security of the U.S. nation, the security is higher than some of these other small places.
U.S. Virgin Islands, man, and that's where you need to go.
Hey, Nick, what's up, man?
No problem, man. How you doing?
It's a great day today. Partly cloudy, upper 80s, low humidity. Living life. Life is good.
There you go. Oh, you could get what was that, back in '89, I guess. Hugo went through St. Croix and tore that place up. There was a house on the water. You could have picked that up back then for $1.2 million. And I mean, it was right there, actually in the water. There was one wall left with a toilet in front of it. $1.2 million, and the toilet still worked.
Probably had one of the really cool windows you could see down into the water too on the floor.
I do suggest
out there,
get out.
snorkel out. I could see that was left over of it, and then it's right next to a nice little boat wreck right there too.
I guess I do suggest people get out and see the world and figure out where you want to live if you have lots of wealth. But just remember, like, you can have tens of millions of dollars and live in some remote place with no place to spend any of it. I mean, so you can be happy because you're not paying taxes and you just have tons of money and you don't know what to do with it because there's nothing to do. or you pay a little bit of a premium and you can still live a good lifestyle and be happy in the States or whatever country you're currently in. But you have to explore those options. But don't just immediately say taxes are bad. I'm gonna figure out where to live so I don't have to pay taxes, because you actually could end up being miserable.
I agree with that statement.
Yeah, you're not wrong on that. But if a person moved in a place where there's nothing to do, nice home, but nowhere really to spend it, doesn't speak the local language, then that's on you. That's on the person moving there if they decide to do something like that. But let's hope somebody's a little smarter than that. But hey, look, not everybody with money is smart, that's for sure.
That's why I said the U.S. Virgin Islands, man, you don't have to give up your citizenship. They don't pay federal taxes. They pay it's basically the same, though. It's the Virgin Islands tax. Lived there for 3 years. I used to love it. No state tax. You go hop on a puddle jumper, go to any other island you want, and throughout the whole Caribbean, so you weren't locked up anywhere. It's real good. I loved it.
Never really thought about that.
Did you say hop on a pole jumper?
Puddle jumper, man, puddle jumper.
I thought it's a pole jumper. I'm like, oh, easy now. Maybe these Virgin Islands ain't that bad.
I'm not going there. You get me in trouble. Every time you talk about that.
Yeah, I've never been to the Virgin Islands. I'll have to go check them out, and just that's for a vacation or something. Just never happened to be there. I was in California for about 20 years, so didn't make it out that way.
I went there once, like Yost Van Dyke. That's all I remember. But it's like close to Puerto Rico.
Yep. There's a ton of them out there. I mean, you want to go easy, laid back place, St. Croix, St. Thomas is more your tourist destinations. St. John's just kind of a little island where all the rich people live. But
You can get
back
if you
then,
can
you
get
could hop on an airplane for $30 and go anywhere in the Caribbean you wanted to go.
if you can get rid of Mr. Diaz in Cuba, you will have a nice place to go.
I'm gonna stay away from Cuba.
It's beautiful, man. Though.
Oh, I do hear Guantanamo Bay area is pretty good for some people.
For taxpayers. No, the island is beautiful, man. But the government is stupid. But stupid. Long story.
Only thing I can say about the Virgin Islands, if you ever get hurt, you better be on a plane back to the States to get taken care of. That's about the only negative I can tell you about it. I like what was that? Saint Lucia and Antigua. I really like going down there. Those are really cool places.
Sail, redneck?
What's that?
You sail?
No, not particularly. I like things with motors on it, but I can see the benefit to it. My wife is the sailor amongst my family.
What about diving?
Yeah, I love doing that.
Do you like fishing?
Yeah, I spent most of my life near the ocean, so I love it. I love saltwater fishing more than I do freshwater fishing, that's for sure. Hello, you could get you a place down there in Savannah on the intercoastal and get your boat in the back. It only costs you a couple $1,000,000, a little bit cheaper than Miami.
I went to college in Savannah.
I'm sorry.
It's a pretty city.
So you might have had some good times over there at St. Patrick's Day then.
I mean, if you consider a good time, I ended up in jail twice. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I consider that a good time. How long ago was that?
I was there 06 to 09, so it's almost a decade ago.
Oh, okay, so they basically screwed it up. So you never got to go for the where they shut down the city for a week, and it was just a week long of partying. Nobody worked.
It was fun going to college there because that's the only other U.S. I mean, now with COVID, we don't give a shit. I'm in New York, I don't care. But that was the only other city in America besides NOLA, New Orleans, that had open containers, so you can walk around with like a solo cup. So as a college town, it's kind of fun. We had these big, you'd rent a house and you got a big house and a big porch, right? Georgia's all about the porches, so you had these huge porch parties and ride around on your bikes, and you got Spanish moss, and the layout's pretty good. Like it's conducive for a college town. And I know our college there was really doing a lot to give the city a facelift and bring in some money, and they do a lot of historical preservation. So
SCAD?
that's the one. I asked my mom. I told my mom, I was like, Mom, I don't want to go to college. Please just put all my college money on Apple stock at like $26 a share. She was like, you got to go to college. I was like, fuck. I was like, Mom, I'll be a multimillionaire by 30. I'll never have to work again. Please just put it on Apple. Couldn't do it. So I've been looking for my next win, and here we are today.
Unfortunately, Georgia's school system ruined me from going to college.
Yeah, I dropped out. Wasn't worth it.
If I could go back, I would spend the time learning a trade rather than spending the time learning how to chase women and drink beer and occasionally learn.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I kind of picked up a trade. I'm a content creator, so I can, soup to nuts create any type of content. But back then too, I told my mom, I was like, look, kids in 10 years are just going to be able to do all this on YouTube. Like, I know I have to kind of compete with them, but I also don't. So just shove it into Apple and do it. Like any kid that's paying $100,000 and going into student loan debt to be a filmmaker is just not Googling hard enough.
Well, Georgia's like the new Hollywood of the East nowadays.
That's true because of taxes. They shot Stranger Things there. The new Stranger Things looks pretty good.
Done Ozark, Stranger Things, let's see, that shit ton of movies. Was that The Walking Dead? That was filmed here. Still is.
Damn it, redneck! You got me wanting to buy a house in the Virgin Islands now, so I'm fucking skimming through it. Looks beautiful.
Yeah, well, when I moved there, it looked like a gigantic landfill. I lived in a tent for about a year before I could even get an apartment.
Which island did you live on?
St. Croix mostly.
Yeah, it's the big one. The one that's butted up to the British Virgin Islands looks to be the prettiest, but there's no fucking homes there for sale. It's all land.
Well, British Virgin Islands were really neat too. Yeah, somebody mentioned the Yost Van Dyke. That one was a party island a couple times a year. They'd have some big old parties out there.
And if I could, well, I obviously work from home, so I can work anywhere, but all about not paying that big chunk of taxes and being able to write 100% of your house off.
Hey, Red, you old enough to remember Sharky's Machine?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I watched that again this weekend, man. It brings back a lot of memories.
Yeah, that goes back in the days of Sanford and Son, Jeffersons, and All in the Family. Really good program. Not one you could put on
Burt
TV
Reynolds.
today.
Burt Reynolds loved to do his movies in Atlanta. He filmed a lot of movies in
Yeah, now the Deliverance was filmed up outside of Atlanta. I do believe all the Smokey and the Bandits were in Atlanta too.
Yeah.
Hello, guys. This is Top Cat speaking. I have my voice affected because I have the monkey flu. Monkey flu is this something like this? So I'm back anyway. I wanted to
Okay,
tell.
Top Cat, I'm glad you're feeling better, I guess, but you shouldn't be hanging with monkeys. You wouldn't get that monkeypox, bro.
No, not monkeypox. Monkey flu. Right. Well, I just wanted to say that I had a big argument here in the channel like 2 weeks ago, and I was in Prague with this guy from France. Telling me that Bitcoin is going down, and this and that. I said Bitcoin is not going below 30,000 and X is not going below 10 cents. I failed for X. I'm very sorry. I feel much sorry if people believed me that X is not going below 10 cents. This was due to factors I don't control. There are much more volatility and a much more sensitive ecosystem to the whales than Bitcoin is now due to the complexity and maturity of Bitcoin. But anyway, I don't know if this guy is here. Bitcoin is now at 32K. I believe X will be above 10 cents very soon as well. I said crypto market is at the very bottom when Bitcoin is at 30K. So that's what I still believe.
Well, that's good to hear. Hopefully it is at the bottom. And, don't be putting monkeys on your shoulder. You wouldn't be getting colds.
Yeah. Thanks for the advice, partner.
Yeah, come and stake it out there at Salt River and St. Croix. Need to get you a house over there.
So we did the launch in May after all. What are the stakes now? What people been guessing? Can you update me?
I don't know. Everybody stopped guessing. They're, I guess, content for August now.
You said August?
Yes, sir.
Please. So December it is.
I just, at this point, be happy if we're live before the end of 2022.
He will not launch it until he sees 11K. He's stubborn, as we know. Problem is that To fail is to be human. He's human. He might fail. And if he's still stubborn, can be harmful to the ecosystem.
Why do you think that he's waiting to see 11K? Please explain why would you think that?
Because of his ego, because he called 11K and he wants 11K.
No, it really has nothing to do with the market timing. He said when the code is done, it's done.
He
They're
also
still
said
working on it.
15 days.
They're
He
still
also said
auditing.
15 days a month ago.
Yeah, but then he had a new update. Right? He updated his worldview. He said now we have to do this, and they're not done with that. So it's nothing to do with the market.
Guess I'm just going to have to wait for Popper to come out with a security review of the Pulsechain.
At this point, whenever it comes out, it just come out. I'm not even looking for it. Just whenever it comes, it comes.
Likewise, man. It's like we've been waiting since last year for this. So at this point, might as well just forget about it. When it launches, it launches when the code is right. You know, hopefully everything will be good then when they finish this last update and be much. But you're right. Whenever it launches, it launches.
For some reason, your mic is low.
Yeah, I think it's his phone, man. I'll try to swap it out.
Yeah, more thing. I don't need another boat. I'm going to get me a submarine. I'm mistaken. Why are you trying to move out somewhere? You live in Texas, man.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's an island with water. It just seems intriguing. I mean, Texas is badass. I mean, you can always have more than one home, right?
Now you're thinking.
Especially when all this launches a couple years after that. Definitely ain't keeping this shit in dollar bills.
Yeah, I need me, I don't know, about 50,000 acres out in West Texas for the mule deer and everything on. I think I'll be happy there.
50,000 acres. Whew. It's a lot of damn land. We have about 960 here, a little bit southwest Texasy.
Where will the submarine go?
Yeah.
West Texas.
Yeah, man, I want to get out there where I got to have hunting property. I don't care about living there. I just want to be able to go hunt.
Yeah, I went to school in West Texas. It's think about San Angelo as far west as I'd like to go. Anything past that is, well, I'll take that back to Big Ben's badass, but and for hunting, but definitely not anything to reside in. West Texas is dry, too damn dry for me.
Those thunderstorms out in West Texas are nasty.
Give me a nice little place out there in Texas, probably one in Montana, Colorado, maybe. I don't know. I mean, nice little places everywhere.
Oceanfront property in Arizona.
You damn right, because if I ever make it out to freaking California, that place is dropping in the water. Be my luck, I ever go back to Montana, that whole Cascadia area will blow up. I'm going to try my hand at hunting in Nebraska this year. See what happens.